just for just basic check-in question, intentions and distractions. Acid, do you want to kick it off?
Yes, thank you. Um, Intentions, just catch up with you guys. It's good to see you, Griff and Tam. Um, and distractions, I got my tab node and uh, doing the configuration right now. So it's pretty interesting, everything. And yeah, I'll pass it to Nate.
Thanks, Acid. Yeah, intentions are to get through this agenda and talk about some of these important topics that we have here. I think it's a lot of things going on right now in the TEC, so I'm excited to delve into it. Currently, no distractions, surprisingly. So, yeah, it's good morning, having my coffee and everything else. So I'll pass it over to you, Griff.
Yeah, I'm definitely distracted by trying to finish out an optimism grant that is due today. So I'm going to work on that in the background while I'm listening to the awesome music and the awesome peeps. But of course, the second that something's really relevant, I'll jump in. And my intentions, yeah, just to stay up to date. I feel like I've been missing this call because of East Denver responsibilities, but finally, it's good to be back. I'll throw it over to Tam.
Similar, since I missed 2 calls during East Denver, and then last week I had a really bad case of COVID. So I'm really excited to be actually joining this call again as well. So distractions, I'm in the middle of a shop in Lisbon, so I'm on my phone and my screen isn't on, but I'm very present anyway. I'm really focused on this. And then intentions to see what we have going on. I know that we might also talk about ABC and some work to be done there today, but if not, I'll just happy to help wherever I can. And I'm happy to pass to NT.
Thanks. Intentions.
Isaac, I mean,
it's fine. I respond to both. Intentions. Well, we had a pretty interesting weekend, and I think that's something to talk about with ABC. And then I'm really also excited about some other projects we got going on. So looking forward for the call. And distractions. So they're doing some maintenance to the electricity grid around my area. So I don't have electricity right now for my phone. That's it. I'll pass it over to you, Gideon, because I'm not sure who's left.
Yeah, Bear, do you want to go?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, intentions. I think there are a lot of really interesting items on the agenda and a lot of interesting topics that are emerging in different fronts in the TEC. So that's really exciting. It's exciting to have Griff and Tam also joining the call again. And yeah, if there's time, I would also like to talk a little bit about the way we are kind of like organizing certain activities throughout the calendar, especially going now to the kind of like the second season. I think it will be really, really helpful for the efforts of the team and all the contributors to have that set in a schedule, in a calendar, so we all know what we are expecting to do at certain calls, right? So yeah, that's it. And distractions. I'm just having some breakfast right now, so it's not a big distraction. And I'll pass it back to you, Gideon.
Okay, thanks everybody. Yeah, so my intentions, we've got a lot of stuff that are, a lot of pieces that are starting to move, and so basically my goal is to try to create as much synergy across all these pieces, but do it in a way where they don't start to become encumbrances and hold each other up. So and then distractions, yeah, we've got some construction that's going on down below, so that might create some noise. So as far as just quick updates, I'll start with one, which is that we have what's likely to be a proposal for bonding curve, particularly augmented bonding curve. It's still kind of shaping up what this proposal is going to look like, but it's Curious Rabbit working with Jeff and Jessica and YGG and Rex and maybe one other person I can't remember. Anyway, part of it is going to be kind of like educational stuff, some short videos. That looks like that's what they're optimizing for. But then we're also trying to get them to include some research by looking at some of the data from our ABC. And I wanted to offer them like 30 minutes on this call next week to come in and get some feedback from all of us, but particularly Griff and Tam, and then I'll probably try to rope in some other folks about kind of the future of the ABC, and if there's some particular things that we would like to have researched or looked at from the data. Let's see if we can do that next week, like provide them some feedback. So I'm still waiting to hear from them, like who else is going to show up. Curious Rabbit will definitely be here. I'm trying to get Jeff and Jessica, maybe YGG, to show up too. So I guess the first question is, Griff and Tam, do you think you'll be able to be here next week for this call?
I will be for sure.
Same.
Awesome. Okay. So I will push for that. So any other quick updates from folks?
Actually, I have one. My talk came out, and maybe I was going to add the screenshot here, but I didn't quite get there in time. But and I made a nice shout out to the TEC there. So yeah, feel free to like make other tweets about this. It's very relevant today.
Awesome. I can't wait to see that. And Tam, yours too. So when you get yours, Tam, please share that, and we'll definitely tweet these out and try to generate some noise. Any other quick updates before we dive in? 5, 4, 3.
Yeah, I was going to say that currently working with Shah and Ronan on the ENS grants, and that if anybody has anything they want to add to the curation service or think should be a part of this grant, then please let me know.
Okay, great. And sorry, like now there's starting to be a lot of noise. So can you still hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
So, all right. So let's dive in. Over the weekend, a lot of weird stuff was happening. Because the Silicon Valley Bank, and then, Clear and all this other stuff died. There were a number of us online chatting about this, and things seem to have calmed down. But it did kind of raise some questions. I don't think we need to answer all of these right now because it's not like a short-term thing, but it does kind of raise this question of TEC's long-term diversification, maybe on like chain diversification. And whether this is something that we think we need to start thinking about proactively, over the course of this year or so. So I'll throw it out to let's cap this because this could be a long conversation. Let's just cap this to 5 minutes to just get a general sense of like whether this is something that we need to jump on, over the next few months and start pulling a plan together.
If I may just very quickly, I think two things that are important, sort of short term, is to first work to make some treasury diversification, even if it's small, like buying a bit of Ether or something like that. I think that wouldn't hurt us. And then if we can work at least on a small communications plan or something like that, should anything like that happen again soon and affect the common pool, we are at least more or less ready to handle how to respond to people that may want to request funds or something like that. And then, having migrating the ABC or using another token, I think that's more longer term.
Yeah, and I'll kind of just repeat what my thoughts were before about our economy having too many dependencies on the decisions of others. So, Gnosis, Maker, Circle, regulatory environment, these things, they they have a lot of, any one of these orgs can change in response to something happening from the external environment, and it completely undermines our economy in a lot of ways. And so we're kind of dependent on them not changing, and this is something that is, in my opinion, not sustainable. And I think that we should definitely take a look into the options, but also get clear information from these organizations that we are dependent on. So understanding Gnosis's long-term outlook, what they're planning on doing, understanding what Maker is trying to do, and then just getting a clear picture of what are the challenges that we're facing as we move into the future. I'm all for exploring different options, but and I'm also very aligned with Gnosis team and what I think they're trying to do in the long term. But if in the short term that jeopardizes our economy, then maybe we should look into to kind of mitigating those risks.
Yeah, and I can chime in here. I assume Maker is going to heavily reconsider their reliance on USDC, and I hope that they do. I can't imagine they wouldn't after this weekend's situation. And yeah, and it is kind of a tough thing. Right now, it's very difficult for us to move change, but soon there will be another augmented bonding curve deployment on Celo and maybe even Polygon, and then I think it'll be more of a discussion. It's hard because like what if we? I mean, the best way to not rely on others is to be larger and self-reliant on ourselves. Like if we can get large enough to the point where we can turn off the bonding curve and still have liquidity in secondary markets, then it's not a big deal. And I think that should be really our focus, because that's the only way to avoid it. Because otherwise we got to pick some stable coin, and if USDC can be at threat, then like I don't know which stable coin we pick, right? I mean, that's a pretty small market cap too. I don't know. It's a tough spot. So I think the best bet is to really focus on how do we grow the TEC token economy so that it doesn't need a bonding curve. And I know it's kind of tangential, but I don't think that there's much we can do to mitigate this. So.
Welcome, Monka. Okay. That's probably about enough for right now. I think we just put this in some kind of like a tickler file for something to come back to and just keep an eye on. And Isaac, if you've got some thoughts on your short-term things, we should just write that up and maybe come back to this in a couple of weeks. Particularly, we never ended up closing things out with the treasury policy, so maybe we use that as an opportunity to do that. Okay, let's move on. One of the things that I just want to get some feedback on is, so the three things that are left, Bear added the calendar coordination. I had the TEC membership program idea, but maybe we delay that until maybe next week, because I think actually while we've got Pam and Griff and Blanca and other folks here, it'd be good to maybe just go through, Isaac, some of the stuff we talked about today about our assumptions about the grant. So before we do that, are you cool with doing that, Isaac?
What was that? Sorry.
Doing just a quick summary of what we decided on the call seemed like the best plan for the grant proposal.
Okay.
Okay.
Right now?
No,
Or-
not yet.
Okay.
First, I want to talk about all these proposals that are flying around. What I'm kind of jokingly calling proposal mania is basically we're trying to move a lot of stuff. We need the community to buy off on a lot of things over the next few months. Next month, within the next 4 weeks, really. So here, let me just kind of explain at a macro level what I'm thinking, and I would love to get some feedback. So the things that we need to do are basically turn off conviction voting, turn on Dow voting. Dow voting is already there, but like figure out what the processes are to move funding proposals over to Dow voting. So that's kind of the first piece. But there are all these other things that are going on. So one is there's this grants program proposal that Isaac is now working on, and that is very time sensitive. Like we've got to move on this. We just talked to the folks at Gitcoin yesterday, and they told us some of their dates, and they're pretty aggressive. We can do them, but like we need to get the community buy-in pretty quickly. So, and then there basically is the coordination team next season's funding proposal. We're going to run out of funds in April, so we need to basically get that passed so that we can still pay people. And then the academy is going to be running out of funds as well. And so as part of the merger, we'll talk some more about this later, but what we're thinking is breaking this up into kind of two phases. One is economic integration, which would be the first phase. And then the second would be kind of the more like deeper governance and like stewardship processes integration. So that would be like the second half of it. So what we're thinking is that we would actually pull together a proposal that would be for funding, just like we did twice already for operations support for the academy, that we would pull together another one, and then there would be another proposal that would be outlining the nearer term plans for economic integration. There's a lot of work that's been going on that front, and the operations the academy operations proposal would be kind of like one aspect. So what this suggests is basically because if we start to move these through Dow voting, we're going to need to rally people pretty quickly. Like there's a 5-day time frame that these votes happen, and so it's not like with conviction voting where people can sit on it for a while. Like in order to pass these things, we're really going to need to coordinate outreach to token holders. So the idea is basically to wrap all of these with a wrapper proposal that basically is, I've got a draft of right now that kind of like explains this whole series of moves. I am thinking that becomes like the initial community advice process. It's not actually a proposal that gets voted on. But what it does is it frames these other proposals and then points to them once those proposals are up. And that what we would do is basically structure this in two flights, two phases, so that we're really only having to reach out to token holders twice. And the first phase of it would be the wrapper proposal, which would go up to just kind of explain everything, and then we would bundle in the conviction voting shutdown proposal, and the TEC grants program proposal. And that we would basically we would pitch the grants program proposal as like our first test of using Dow voting for funding, for basically taking funds out of the common pool. And then what we do is in the first week of April, come back to token holders with 3 more proposals that are all kind of wrapped under this idea of like, there are these these budgets that we're trying to push through. One is for the grants program proposal, which hopefully by then will have already passed. And then there will be a operations budget for the coordination team and an operations budget for the academy. Phew. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. And I would love to get people's comments on just like, is this going to work? Like, will this confuse people? Are there other better ways of structuring this? It's rather complicated, but we do have a series of moves that we've got to make over the near term. So I'll just open it up.
Seems good to me.
So is this proposal just to have multiple proposals wrapped into a single one? Is that correct?
Yeah, sorry, this is complicated. I feel like sometimes when I'm explaining these things, like I don't know if this is the best way to explain it, but yes, basically that what I'm seeking feedback on is one, this idea of a wrapper proposal, which I'll send out today to get feedback from everybody, trying to keep it relatively short. But that's the first piece. Second piece is doing this as 2 phases. One phase that's focused on switching off conviction voting and moving forward with the grant program proposal, and using the grant program proposal as our first test of Dow voting for funding. And then the second phase is the operational budgets for the academy coordination team, and then a smaller proposal that just basically approves moving forward with economic integration and whatever we need to pay for that.
Yeah, it seems good. I just hope that any type of dissent on parts of these proposals don't slow the process down, because I do think that we might have maybe 1 or 2 that disagree with a portion of it or how it's done, and so yeah, I think this is kind of one of those things where we should probably get up on the forum as soon as possible.
Yeah, our goal is to get this up on the forum by the end of the week, to get these first 3 up there.
And I'll also say that we really need to organize our communications to the stakeholders and token holders that we do have, and maybe even use direct contact rather than just tweeting and forum.
Griff, were you going to add something?
Just one thing that Nate said that I didn't hear clear answer. Are these going to be separate votes, or are they all going to be combined into one vote? There'll be separate votes at the same time, right?
Correct. Yeah. So in this first phase, it will be 2 votes, one for the conviction voting shutdown and one for the grants program.
Great. And if you guys need me to help make the conviction voting shutdown proposal, or like vote, just like we can schedule time on my calendar and I'll make it happen.
Yeah. And, one question is, this is just a logistical question, but, if we pass, okay, so the idea would be to pass that conviction voting shutdown proposal. We would be using basically Dow voting to do that. And then we would be, so So we wouldn't have shut down conviction voting at that point. And we're passing so basically we'll be passing the grant program with Dow voting, even though conviction voting won't have shut down. There shouldn't be a problem with that, right?
No, of course. There would be a problem if you were trying to use conviction voting and we changed the parameters. I'm not sure what that would do. I'm pretty sure that would stop it from passing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if we're using Dow voting for everything, then it's fine.
Yeah, that's the plan. We basically have already just passed our last conviction vote with the stakeholder study. I mean, never say never. I mean, I hope at some point we'll come back to conviction voting personally, but not for right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments from people? Okay. All right. So that's good. That's the plan. And we've got our work cut out for us. I'm going to spend part of the day today just like seeing what all the pieces are that I'm going to need some help from. Basically, the people who are on board for this. Nate's helping. He's already got a draft of the conviction voting proposal. We'll probably tweak that a bit to fit in with these other things. Isaac is working on the grants program proposal, and I'm working on the wrapper proposal. So the three of us will pick up and just make sure that all of these things tie together. I think, the metaphor I've been using these days is like kneading dough for some delicious bread. Basically, we're taking all these things and we're just kneading them back into each other to create as much synergy as possible while trying to keep them simultaneously modular so that they don't end up, creating obstacles for each other, dependencies that we don't need. So that's the challenge. Okay, before we move on, any other comments, questions on this part?
Sorry, I am in a loud place. But yeah, I want to say hi to you, all of you, and that I also agree with the proposal mania of like having certain priorities and planning ahead. Also, I got late into the call, but the topic of the instability of stablecoins is super interesting, and also this thing like also made me think about the importance of conflict management and of what Gravity is doing into the crypto space, because I am sure that there is a lot of stress happening and a lot of conflict and frictions that arose because of that financial crisis. And yeah, that we are continuously working on Gravity, and that's also a check-in from my side that we have the page ready, and this month our focus would be on like a communication strategy to engage people to interact with the page and to enroll to the course that is like, I think the course is like 80% ready and the page is ready, but we don't have traffic of people and we want to promote engagement. So like any retweet or anything that from the TEC, we will try to make a Twitter strategy. So any retweet is very valuable to us, and nothing. Just checking in.
Okay, thanks, Parker. Congratulations on making so much progress, by the way. That's great. And yeah, we'll do whatever we can to help get you guys launched. That's nice. All right, so rather than talking, if we have time at the end, we'll try to talk about, actually, I'm going to move the calendar organization up higher because the TC membership thing is something that I've been talking with Angela about and a few others. And I think there's some nice things that we'll be able to do with that to help build the utility, token utility, and build the integration. but it's not urgent right now, so we can come back to that. So let's talk about the grants program. Isaac, do you want to give an overview of what we were talking about today?
Sure. I guess just a bit of context. We've been in contact with the Gitcoin team to run rounds on the new allocation protocol, and we had a meeting a few days ago. I think it was yesterday, a few days ago. And the initial plan was that they were going to run a few small like testing rounds with partners on March, and then continue with their schedule on April and so on. But because of that was a bit tight on time and some other stuff they got going on their side, and updates in the protocol and that's a lot of stuff. They decided that it's probably smarter to just go ahead and do the full round on April. So we won't be doing the small testing round anymore. I posted the proposal to request funds for this small round last week, and we won't be moving forward with that one. And so we are looking into entering, starting joining Gitcoin in April for their first set of rounds with the allocation protocol. That's kind of the context of where everything is at right now. And this morning I had a meeting with Gideon. We talked about the grants protocol overall and decided on a few things. So first things first, the program itself seems like the smarter thing to do short term is going with the chain that whatever chain Gitcoin chooses to go. I'm hoping, and I think that's going to be Optimism. That unfortunately makes one enable us to use the TEC token at least to donate to for people to donate with the TEC token. But we think that first it's overall a better user experience if whenever people go to check out, they can check out in the same network, and we are not the only ones that require bridging. And second, I guess we have some questions overall with regards to the Gnosis ecosystem. So like there's way less money in the Gnosis chain. There's way less active addresses, and I think there's going to be an interesting conversation between us and Gitcoin to to finally be able to, I guess, during their support and some other to be able to properly run rounds chain. We definitely want to enable what seems smart.
Isaac, your audio is
Sorry, is it better now?
yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So that's on the chain. But anyways, it seems like it is possible that we are going to be able to do some sort of TC boost. So if you hold TC, you can get a small matching, and that's because the file, the protocol gives you a information, and we can hide, and we can take a list of the token holders and so I guess that covers most of the grants protocol, at least in the as a protocol. And then our round per se on April, it's going to be more on the open side, just so that we can, um, you know, uh, see which projects are out there. We will need some help reviewing grants and reaching out to people and projects so that they are aware that this is happening. I'm assuming it's going to be around 10, 15 projects maximum for this round, and the round is and the fund in the matching pool is going to be of about 20, 25K. So that's the number. We have the ENS grant, which was about 15 100, and for the next rounds, for the following rounds, our hope is to slowly make this program so that it doesn't rely on our common pool. Hopefully, it wouldn't even take a penny from our common pool. And so yeah, there's that. I don't know if I explained it well, but any questions, or I don't know if you, Gideon, want to expand it.
I have a quick question on the number of. Why would you want to put a cap on the number of projects?
Because of the matching size, and also just to be able to handle this first round better, and handle expectations with how everything goes. We are not. 15 is more like a random number. Probably it can be more. I don't know, but I think having some sort of cap is decent is going to help us for at least this first round.
I actually think that QF works a lot. Like if you see the climate round versus the open source round, the climate round had 50 groups, people, and then the open source round had like 200 or something. There's like a huge benefit for there to be more groups fundraising, because the open source round raised like off of the 330K, I think there was a total of like well over $500,000 that was donated to projects in that round. Whereas the climate round, it was more like, I don't remember the exact numbers, so I shouldn't even say them. But the more groups that you have competing, the more donations that you end up getting, and the more like multiplier you get for the money that is put up in the matching pool. Now, I totally understand if you want to minimize the work of working with all these individual groups. That makes perfect sense. But making a cap is also like it's gonna hurt the multiplier it's gonna end up resulting in fewer donations to all the projects. So that's the way that's what we have to play with.
Well, that actually makes sense. I think in any ways, I don't think we are going to have like that many projects applying. So I don't know. That's not set in stone, anyways. But that's a great that's great feedback.
Can I just, Nate, I'm sorry. I just want to add just like a couple other things that we talked about today, just for the context. So one is that in the short term, we won't be, what we're suggesting here is not using TC for doing the actual contributions. And the reason, there's a few reasons, but we think that we can, the nice thing about using TC is it starts to generate some token utility, but we think that this boost idea is something that we'll be able to do. We can just do it by hand in the background, just with spreadsheets. And that that will also get us some utility. It will start to kind of like increase the, part of the pitch that we'll be making is that, what we're looking for is projects that advance the field of token engineering, but also simultaneously build the economic layer of the commons, the token engineering commons. And so over time, we intend to ask the Gitcoin folks to still follow through with the Gnosis, basically making Gitcoin, making these rounds work on Gnosis, but maybe use that as a way to reach out to Gnosis and strengthen that partnership, and maybe, just maybe, get them to actually kick in some matching funds as a partner. But to do that is like one big push that we do after this first round. We just have too many things on our plate to try to do all that at once.
Okay, so you would like me to not ask Kevin Olson to deploy on Gnosis, right? We would prefer to not do it on Gnosis this round.
Yeah, I think so, Griff. I think Connor, we were talking to Connor. We told him that we would get back to him about that. So I'm sure he can do that. But just for your relationship with Kevin, yeah, it's probably good to, so that wasting that.
Sure. Yeah, because I'm sure we could. I mean, like, at least the way his eyes looked, he wanted to do it for us but only if we want to. So if we don't want to, then we don't have to. And I can tell them no need.
I would say, I wouldn't say no need. I would say just this round is probably too tight, that we wouldn't be able to take advantage of it, but we definitely want to do that longer term, like maybe by the next round.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah. And just very quickly, I added a link in there to the HackMD where that's like a quick assessment of the different options and trade-offs between using chains or the TC token and different ways of using the token and all of that. Just if anyone is interested.
And Nate, I want to go back to you because I'm sorry I just wanted to clarify that.
No, you actually answered some of the question. I was just curious about the technical feasibilities of making this happen, since we're matching with, I'm assuming a DAI and just bridging it over and then transferring it over to the layer 2. But having the technical feasibility to actually do that, setting up multi-sigs and all that stuff, I was just asking regarding plans for that.
I mean, I hope we're going to be matching with TEC, right? Like that's what people will receive TEC on Gnosis chain. No?
We actually haven't locked that part down. So yeah, it'd be good to get people's thoughts on that.
My question would be regarding if we did match with TEC, then what is the feasibility of the actually like the technical aspects of bridging that token? Or if we're doing it on Gnosis, then yeah, but maybe I misunderstood. Is this not happening on Optimism?
The distribution of funds is manual, so the protocol will give us a file and maybe just set up a multisig and put the file through it and distribute funds. I guess my
wait,
we haven't logged in. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but actually that's not what they said today. Connor mentioned that part has been automated. The payments, they think that they're going to get the payments in there. So in order to do the payments, I think actually we would need it on Gnosis.
He said we are going to still to get the file, so we can probably skip the automation and get the file and do it manually anyways. Because if we are going to make the boost, we need to tweak the file anyways.
Yeah, they're not going to force us to use the automated payment service. It might be a feature that is included that they have available if we want it, but I don't think we'll need to use it.
One thing I'm wondering with using the TC token as a matching token is first. I don't know. It's first a grantee experience, because I assume that if we were to if we were to use TC token, the last grantee to cash out would receive less money, and the first one will receive probably just a bit more because of the ABC. And then I guess on the long term, I don't know. This is an open question. I don't know if projects overall would be fine with us, using their money to convert it to TC to distribute it. Because my priority right now is having the program not use money from the common pool, because then it's not sustainable.
I would say that I'm pretty sure that like ENS is going to give us Ether, not their own token, and they don't care if we convert it to TEC. And I don't know about other groups that you're going to try to fundraise from, but I think that like Gnosis would probably give us XDAI, or happily, and we would probably sell it. I don't know about the other groups, but I think it makes a lot of sense to give token engineering non-profit groups TEC tokens. It's just like I hear you that the price might change for some groups that choose to cash out or not, but also the market price might go up because people see what the TEC is doing, and there's utility, and we're starting to do cool things again. So it's definitely a speculative play. So it's hard to say it'll go up or down. But I think it's important that we try, if we can, to use the TEC token anywhere that makes sense, because we're really hurting for token utility. So it'd be like a missed opportunity, I would say, if we didn't use the TEC, and just whatever funds we get, we buy into the bonding curve and get TEC to do it.
Yeah, I always thought that it was going to be the opposite way, where especially if this is built on Gnosis, that we'd have donations being made in TEC, and then we match it with our common pool, and that way we have the ability to match with wrapped XDAI and still provide token utility from the group of donators.
That makes more sense. The issue with donating with TEC is first sort of the experience. Like if we want to become Gitcoin partners and run rounds besides them, it's probably not that great that we are the only ones requesting you to switch networks. And also generally, Gnosis doesn't have as much people and as much money as Ethereum or Optimism. And then the second thing, what I was going to say, the second thing is, like, even if that were to happen, then I have questions about, like, if we restrict donations to just being TC token, then I don't know how easy it's going to be to fundraise, because then effectively the round is just a second common pool, and I don't know if projects are generally open to give money to common pools. And then if there's a list, if people can vote with Ethereum, DAI, TEC, I don't know how many people would choose TEC. And so I guess for right now, I guess it makes more sense to run them on a more popular chain until we can think more and figure out a bit more things about supporting the chain in general. I don't know.
I'll just add a couple quick thoughts on that. One is that if we think about this as a longer term play, right? This is like this is really our pilot, just like our beta of this thing. So I think that there's an opportunity in the next one that we do. So this one's not going to be the full round. Like, full rounds will be 50,000 US dollar, and this one will probably be more like 20 to 25. So I think that in the next round, like, the thing is that, if you think about it from the user's experience, like the contributors, the donators' experience, like, everything's going to be in Optimism and, or on mainnet, and like all of a sudden, if you're not a TC holder already, you're going to if you're forced to go get on Gnosis chain and then get the TC, it's a blocker. And right now for this first one, we're thinking that it's way better to be able to ride the wave and bring in some more funding, even if it's not in TC contributions, and then make a push for the next round, a concerted push that includes things like actually working with a lot of the students in the academy and getting them voting, like getting them TEC, so that it's easy for them to vote. So thinking about this more as like a multi-step process where the TEC adoption is kind of the next phase, and we're really optimizing that. Okay, we have 7 minutes left. We're gonna be trying to put this up in the forum by the end of the week, so we can have some additional comments on that. But if anybody would like to be included in just the review of this proposal before it goes up to the forum, please say so right now, and we'll put you in that feedback round. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. I mean, basically what we just talked about is to go, that should be relatively straightforward. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for feedback on this. Bear, I'm sorry, we just have 6 minutes. Is that enough for you to kind of explain any of this, or is it better to hold off?
I think we can give it a try. Just like taking advantage that everyone is here. I don't think maybe we can leave the feedback for more of async feedback. But let's show this. Just give me a second. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm hoping it works. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, pretty quickly, I've been working on this calendar after realizing that as a coordination team, we are kind of like developing this routine or this habit of doing certain things every month. The list of those things is here. I'll just go through them pretty quickly. Every month, we've been kind of like sitting together, especially on Thursdays calls, to kind of like define the priorities for the next month, kind of like high level priorities and work streams that we're going to be taking on as a team. Then the number two is this idea of this is something that we still haven't done, but that we would like to do. These sort of like sense making sessions, maybe they could happen on Tuesday. And this is where we would present the different projects with that we would like to be working on based on the defined priorities, right, for the month. And we would take these projects, present them, kind of like explain the different outcomes that we're expecting, the costing of each of the projects, and then based on that, we can prioritize which projects should be actually taking on for the month, which are more urgent than others. And then also kind of like do some sense making around how should we distribute funds between the projects that we decide. The third activity is just kind of like based on that sense making session, fixing the budget and presenting it to the team. Number four is this idea of having the flexibility and the ability to adjust the budget throughout the month. So maybe halfway the month we have a session where we can reassess priorities, reassess how projects are going, and maybe do some adjustments in terms of funding for them. Number five is just like having this discipline of at the end of the month, each of the project managers can present their progress or the results on the outcomes that they achieved that month. And overall status of the different active projects that are running. And lastly, is just kind of like presenting the results from the actual budget that we have to the actual amounts or the actual results that we got. This would be kind of like after the month ends, right? So these are kind of like the 6 activities that I'm considering, at least for now. And what I did just pretty quickly is just kind of like organize them throughout the month. I'm considering like March, and then the 4 months that are coming next that we could say are for season 2 of the coordination team. So we can go pretty quickly here on kind of like the whole flow and how would we start. We're here on the 14th. What I'm thinking is that, for example, this coming Thursday's call, we could start talking about the priorities for April, right? So we're doing it with almost 3 weeks or 2 weeks in advance, right? We will also have the ability to readjust the budget that we currently have for March. That's something we can do on that call. Then next week, we could have during this call on Tuesday or Thursday, if we decide to, this sense-making session based on the priorities that we defined for April, right? This is all planning for April. Then on the next week, we would do 2 things. We would present results and progress from the month of March, and we would be presenting the new budget for April, right? With a couple of days before the actual month begins. Then on April, first days of April, we present the budget results from March, so people can see how we did in terms of the financials on the team. And then the next week, again, we have the budget adjustments, and the whole process starts all over again. Planning for priorities. In this case, for May, right? Sense making session, presenting results and progress on outcomes, presenting new monthly budget for May, and that's kind of like the cycle and the loop that I'm suggesting here. So just in 1 minute, I don't know if anyone has any comments. If not, we can maybe just leave it for later. Any feedback that you guys would like to provide on Thursday, or if you want to send me any message, that'd be completely fine. But yeah, that's kind of like the idea.
How about this? Just since 1 minute is not enough time to provide feedback, do you have a place where you would like people to provide feedback?
Right now, as this is a Figma board, it's kind of not easy. So if you want to just leave maybe a message on the coordination channel, or if you want to just DM me directly, that should be fine.
Okay. Thank you, Bear. Thanks for pulling that together and for going through that so quickly. Thank you. Appreciate it. Just last thing before we close out, I just want to mention, this is like a personal thing, but I'm going to be out and like really out there in Colorado in the middle of nowhere the week of April 10th and the week of April 17th. So it's not the best timing because this is when we're launching this, the grant program, but we're going to try to queue everything up, and I'm confident that, this we'll be able to do it no problem without me here. So, but I just want to make sure everybody knows that that's coming. All right, everybody. Thank you. Thanks for joining. Thanks for engaging. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Bye, everyone.